It comes as a surprise how some people think it is okay to invade the privacy of a couple and query them about their childbirth. This can be devastating and emotionally wrecking on the couple. The fact that many in such situations don't talk about it should not make you think you can bring out the conversation anytime and anywhere. It is an emotionally and psychologically taxing development in many homes. We don't have to add up to their sorrow by always reminding them of the stress they are under or the huge sums of money they are spending on medical consultations, tests, travels, amongst others, to get a solution. Next time you want to say that throwaway question to a newlywed or a married couple, be considerate and sensitive. Don't ask them when they are having kids. You may never know the struggles they are going through. Thank you. I'm Obobia Dakupuku, and I invite you to interact with me on Facebook and Instagram at Pause for 3 and subscribe to YouTube for all my presentations at Pause for 3 TV.
Yes, so that was Obobia Dakun Opoku telling you not to give Eric and I pressure. When we are ready, we'll tell you when we want to have our baby. Welcome to the morning update on TV Xyz. My name is Nana Abunasewa, and this program, as always, is proudly brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water. Eric is here with me this morning. Eric, good morning.
Abuna, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm also fine.
Today you are very active, eh?
Very, very active. Very. Yesterday I know what I did.
What did you do?
Did you enjoy watching Obobia?
Yeah, I did.
And the steps.
Yes. She made me want to move, you know.
Gideon.
Hey, it moved you.
I smiled.
Yes, so it moved you.
She has put a smile on my face this morning.
Yes.
I hope you're
so
fine.
People won't put pressure on us anymore to have a baby.
I found a nice way to dodge your question. Today is Thursday, I guess.
Yes.
So it's right.
Yes.
The finance minister will appear before the appointments committee. We also know that GIJ students are angry.
Yes.
It's quite controversial. And this morning I'm hearing that at one of the senior high schools in the Ashanti region, a lady has been denied access because she wants to wear hijab. So the controversy continues.
It started.
And then we also know that there is some revealing information in the Auditor General's report covering 2017 and 2019 on expenses at ministries, departments, and agencies and other statutory boards. 20 billion cedis was lost to the state within that period. 3 years, 20 billion cedis. And if you look at the allocation to government flagship programs in the 2021 budget, all government flagship programs, the allocation is about 6.97 billion cedis. So if everything President Akufo-Addo's office will do this year, from planting for food and jobs to free SHS to special development initiatives to anything that you know the MPP cherishes because it was a policy they promised to implement in their manifesto. And all what government has allocated is 6.97 billion cedis. And between 2017 and 2019, what the state has lost in the form of cash, procurement, breaches, and all the things that you can imagine is 20, then you would understand why Ghanaians must be angry.
Yeah.
Well, I had an interview with Roxanne Dafamakbo. He's the MP for South Dai. He has given us details in that report, voluminous. We'll play that on this program today.
I trust you.
We'll play it on the program today.
I trust you. Newspaper review or the news segment?
No, we'll do the news. We'll tease our viewers with excerpts of what I picked out.
Right.
And then the 15 to 20 minutes plus interview, play it after your show.
Oh, okay.
After your interview session.
Yes. Today is going to be wild in the studio. You might want to stick and stay to the end. We'll take a quick time. When we come back, we'll give you the newspaper headlines.
The Every human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome back. It's now time for the newspaper headlines. Ghanaian Times, Ho records 4th murder case in a month. I believe at this stage, the police must show interest in the security situation in that area. And this one happened in one of the villages, it's Adaklu, Aklafa. That is where this incident happened. But the bigger story on the front page has to do with an assurance from President Nana Akufo-Addo. It says, on the occasion of the 10th anniversary of PIAC, government fully committed to supporting that institution. That's an assurance from President Nana Akufo-Addo after unveiling their new logo. And then Health Alert, Ghana Health Service facilities to be on the lookout for tuberculosis. The back page of the paper has sports. Bafana will be playing the nation's biggest football team, Black Stars. That's how I choose to describe it. The game is today at 4 p.m.
Are you watching?
I'll be watching the vetting in Parliament, Ken Oforiatta. I'll be watching that. I'll be watching that. Now, let's look at the center spread of the paper. On the occasion of the 10th anniversary, this story talks about PIAC, its work. For example, in 2020, an amount of 3.1 million cedis was given to PIAC, and the 2.35 million cedis was set aside for the same institution this year. And the president says he is fully committed. And you know, PIAC is the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, and most of their oversight responsibility is in the oil and gas sector and other mineral resources that we mine in the country. Abena.
So I'll start with a daily graphic, and it says here that don't pass 5% levy to customers. This is being told to the bank not to pass their 5% levy onto us. Oh, thank God. Also, free SHS products shine in 2020. 3 Ghanaians won the top 3 categories in that. Also, President ups budgets for Parliament and Judiciary. Whereas on the back page, it says that new switching station commissioned at Agona Nkwanta. Whereas construction work starts on Bimpon Ntomen Road. You see the minister cutting the sword right there. But I don't see him digging.
So let's look at the Business and Financial Times. After its country's best bet to fast-track economic recovery, that's Alan Tramantin comes with a very beautiful picture of him. And then Turkish-Spanish envoys seek partnership to grow the tourism sector. And local farmer ready but wants government guarantee. Unhappy with exclusion from vaccines manufacturing committee. This is an interesting story because we have pharmaceutical companies in Ghana. We are importing vaccines from other countries. Yes. It is now purely business. Many countries are working hard to ensure that their vaccines are accepted by the WHO. And imagine that you are exporting millions to other countries. Even if the unit cost is $4, you can imagine the billions that many of these companies will be making. And at this stage, you would realize that even some of the most powerful countries are discriminating. Should we order the vaccines from Europe, or we should go to China, or use our subtle sanctions against China by suggesting that we are not too sure about their vaccines, and let's go for it from India and so on. There's a lot of lobbying going on. So if we have pharmaceutical companies which have the capacity to produce the vaccines, I believe that any government should have an interest in it. So once they have made a call, I strongly believe the health ministry and other stakeholders will continue to lobby for that. National Tenants Union skeptical about fairness in the rent loan scheme, calls on government to outline eligibility criteria and digital application for COVID-19 support by MSMEs was deliberate. NBSSI. The NMSE is the micro, medium, and small scale industries. MSMES. Digital application for COVID-19 support by MSMES was deliberate. I don't understand. It raises a lot of suspicion here. So the front page of the Business and Financial Times, that's it. And then the back page of the same paper, those are the headlines. That's what I have today. That's
what you have today. Okay, so let me do the chronicle. It says here, rain exposed shoddy work on Kejetia markets, whereas Baumia's production theory still in progress. Also, Oforiata ready to face NDC MPs today. Now, there's a worrying story. I see that most of us are getting very comfortable with the COVID, but here it says that double mutant COVID variant has been found in India. It says a new double mutant variant of the coronavirus has been detected from samples collected in India. Officials are checking if the variant, where two mutations come together in the same virus, may be more infectious or less affected by the vaccines that we are receiving. Now, another a bit disturbing story here is with the fact that the Catholic Church, which is their head, the Vatican, blesses, or actually no, does not bless the same-sex marriage, but there are some priests that disagree with that ruling. Now to the Daily Post.
Okay, so no, you go. I have an interesting feature here that I want to read, but you finish yours first.
Right. So the Daily Post says that NPP caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Sometimes I like.
And what is the story about?
It's about Baumia and Chermantin with regards to yes.
Oh, okay. I think yesterday I also read something attributed to Freddie Blay. It says if you steal the stat in terms of the presidential race in the MPP, you will be disqualified. And so a lot of people are now suggesting that what about the posters which are out? Should we go ahead to sanction? And the individuals who have the presidential ambition are now running away from those working for them.
It says he didn't.
Okay, have you finished with that paper?
Almost. So it says cooked surveys will not stop Mahama's victory in 2024, whereas trouble looms in Ashanti region over the choice of MMDC. Okay,
so let's look at page 4 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The editorial here says emotional intelligence needed to stem spousal killings. And I've learned 2 words. I'm even going to struggle to mention them because I'm seeing them for the first time. It says uxoricide refers to a man killing the wife or girlfriend. And when a woman does so, that woman is called, or the description for such people is mariticide. Mariticide and uxoricide. That's the first time I'm seeing this, but there's something exciting in this particular editorial. It says the research that has been done shows that men are 5 times more likely to kill their partners than a woman. Men are 5 times most likely to kill their partners than a woman. This is indisputable because Ghanaian Times has followed a number of cases and they have reported on them, and so they refer to them. 7 of the cases involved men against women, and 6 women were killed, with 1 surviving the murder attack. And they are referring to one of such incidents in, I think, the Ashanti region. Now, it goes ahead. Our concern here is that women play pivotal roles in the lives of children, and so if children are denied the motherly care, their future is jeopardized. And this has ramifications for the nation. The records say research on spousal killings in Ghana is scanty, and so the facts and figures are from only newspapers. A publication by journalsagepub.com says between 1990 and 2005, the newspapers reported 72 spousal killings, and the number involved 60 men killing their partners. In 2002 alone, 13 female partners were killed within 2.5 months in the Western region alone. And it goes ahead to talk about what most of these could be arising. Most of these could be. I'm sorry, I'm struggling. It says many of these that have come out from our investigation suggest that many of these men were angry or could not control their emotions. The assailants mostly shoot, hack partners, or take them to hotels, lure them, and kill them. And it goes on and says that there is the need for management of emotional anger. You did much of that yesterday. And I believe that we should continue to remind ourselves that, look, people can tempt you, but you need to be very strategic in managing those provocations.
Yes, definitely. Like I said, it's something I would want to continue. So maybe we'll start with hashtagging, if you're in an abusive relationship, speak up or get out of it, something. But we'll eventually bring it out what we want to do. We'll be getting to the part where Wisdom Hedejome gives us details of some of the headlines that we have discussed. But before that, I need to make some quick money. Welcome back to the morning update. Again, this program is brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water. If you're thinking of distributing, then please call our numbers 0569-273546 or 0596-273547, and we will cover you up. Now it's time for the news. Wisdom Hedejome is here. What do you have for us?
Lots of stories coming up for you this morning because it's Thursday. Well, so I'll be telling you about the appointment committee who is vetting Finance Minister designate Ken Ofori-Atta later today. And Auditor General's report covering 2017 to 2019 shows a whopping 20 billion cedis blown in 3 years compared to 697 billion cedis allotted all over government flagship programs in 2021 budget. We shall share details of the shocking revelation. Also, GIJ student protest issue a 24-hour ultimatum to authorities to revert compulsory deferment directive or face DRF. That directive is ending by midday today, and NDC disciplinary committee turns attention on Kuku Anidoho after sacking Alote Jacobs and Stephen Atubiga. Details coming up in a bit. Grateful for your company this morning. Let's start from Parliament, where Finance Minister designate Ken Ofori-Atta will later this morning be vetted by the Appointment Committee of Parliament. He is expected to face tough questions, especially of some major scandals that has hit the Akufo-Addo administration, including the PDS, Ejapa deals, as well as outstanding issues.
The vetting, which shall be made public, is strictly by invitation and is expected to start at 10 a.m. It comes barely 4 days after the Finance Minister designate Ken Ofori-Atta, who spent nearly a month in the U.S. for medical treatment of what his office described as post-COVID-19 complications, arrived in the country. The minister, who many believe will have a tough time before the Appointments Committee, is expected to answer questions on critical issues, including the fraudulent PDS and Ejapa deals and other outstanding alleged corruption scandals his colleague ministers failed to answer when they took their turn before the Appointments Committee. His long silence when he was in the U.S. stoked public rumor about his death, but he broke that a day after the 2021 budget statement was read, when he surfaced via Zoom, contributing to a post-budget forum organized by the PricewaterhouseCoopers. This raised eyebrows. He returned home last Saturday, a day after Parliament approved the budget. In his absence, President Akufo-Addo appointed his former deputy, Charles Edubuahin, as its special representative at the Finance Ministry.
And that vetting will be live on TVXYZ at 10 a.m. later this morning. Let's still stay in Parliament. And this time, the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, has bowed to threat by the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbing, over the capping of budget allocations to the legislature and the judiciary. Now, TVXYZ News can confirm that President has now increased the allocation of the budget services to Parliament by over 180 million cedis. It is not clear what compromises have been made, but that informed the sudden U-turn. In the 2021 budget, the executive slashed allocations to Parliament by over 190 million cedis, an action which angered the Speaker. Reports say the matter became worse when Executive Secretary to the President, Nana Santi Bedietu, in a letter to the Speaker, described the move as unconstitutional. But MP for South Dai, Roxing Dafiamekpo, who confirmed this in an interview, said the President had to intervene to prevent the House from blocking the passage of the appropriation bill.
He has been addressed. He has negotiated his way through that using legitimate means in law. You see, because Asante Bedietu wrote in a very condescending manner to Speaker and to Parliament. That was why Speaker rejected his position. And the President himself have had to concede that fact and come back in a formal communication, compromising as it were. You know, you have to meet each other halfway. And he has agreed and done that. And so from the initial very low ceilings that they place on the budgetary allocation, it's been reviewed.
Now, the over 533 million cedis estimate presented by Parliament has now been cut by just 10 million cedis instead of the earlier 190 million cedis. Now, this means Parliament now has been allocated over 532 million cedis. Now to some very disturbing news, which may blow your mind. The latest Auditor General's report, which covers the period from 2017 to 2019, shows a whopping 20 million cedis stolen or misappropriated by various ministries, departments, and agencies. Now, this is compared to 6.97 billion cedis allocated for all government flagship programs captured in the 2021 budget. On the Appendix 6 of the budget related to the flagship programs, the highest allocation to the free SHS was 1.97 billion cedis, followed by roads infrastructure of 926 6 billion cedis. Special Development Initiative, which shall receive about 852 million cedis and 672 million cedis for the Nation Builder Score. Now, the report, which gives clear details about missing huge sums of cash, procurement infractions and deals and related dubious expenses, come in the wake of government rhetoric about conscious effort to fight corruption. Now, MP for North Dai, Roxanne Dafiamekpo, who spoke exclusively to the report when TVXYZ News showed him some leaked copies, described the revelation as alarming.
Minister of Education, cash irregularities, financial irregularities in respect of cash alone was about 40 million. Procurement irregularities, about 10 million. Contract irregularities, 86 million. If you take Minister of Youth and Sports, cash irregularities, that's about 3.8 million. Payroll irregularities, about 20 million. If you take Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, cash irregularities, 89 million. I mean, how do you cash irregularities amounting to almost 90 million? If you go to trade, cash irregularities, 53 million Ghana cedis. It's a very fat report because it covers 3 years. Very, very fat report. So we are going to deal with this matter. Fortuitously, I'm a member of the Public Accounts Committee. This will be referred to us, and let me say this: it's not going to be business as usual, where people will come, they will now go and cook documents to come and justify the irregularities that have been established against them. You know.
Now, Parliament Appointment Committee. Parliament's Public Accounts Committee is yet to scrutinize the details, but Mr. Dafiamekpo says the public need to appreciate the gravity of the theft and join a crusade to get those involved.
The committee will be looking at the fine details, will interrogate all the figures. That is why, by way of caution, I'm saying every state agency, every public institution, every public officer that has been cited in this report, they should get themselves ready to cough the monies, to be ready to refund, or face the full rigors of the law. We are losing, my brother. Look, the monies we speak of are equivalent to the entire COVID-19 expenditure. So if we had these monies, do you think we would have struggled to go to IMF, go to World Bank?
Or tax the people?
Or tax the people? No. But these are monies that have fell through the cracks. It tells you that if we seal the loopholes in our public space, we'll have sufficient money to undertake other development projects. It's as simple as that. But these monies are finding their ways into public pockets. And that is what should worry us. And that's equivalent to $4 billion lost to this country in 3 years. And that is public boards operated by state institutions. You know, public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions.
So do make time when Eric Ahiano sits to have the newspaper review, because there's a longer conversation that he'll be giving to you. Now let's turn attention to education, because the 24-hour deadline to management of the Ghana Institute of Journalism by protesting students fighting against the compulsory deferment directive to students who failed to pay their fees on time, and later this afternoon the student who masked up at the campus nearly clashed with the police. I spent time there in a series of reports to follow. You will appreciate the issues better. But this is how the scene was when we got there. The students, numbering over 200 at this stage, wanted to go into the main campus, but the police was equally ready for them.
Open the gate! 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 Open the gate!
Though the police tried to convince leaders of the group to retreat, they rather decided to ignore and sit on the floor to prevent any vehicle from going in and out of the campus. The police, sensing the boiling anger of the student, called for reinforcement. Director of Operations, DSP Kusifori, came with more men, but the students were not intimidated. They hooted at them, daring the police. But after a long wait, there was some respite. A 5-member delegation was sent to management to deliberate on the matter. Smart Techi is leader of the delegation.
Moving forward, what we did was to appeal to the rector, the chairman of the executive, that is going to take the decision tonight. They are going to take that decision tonight together with a 20-member team. And we are hoping for something positive. They asked us to come and address the student body because tensions are rising. We have assured them, and we will continue to assure them, and we will never resort to violence. We have been taught well, and we know that dialogue can get us the results that we are looking for. We will not damage any property, but we will not be intimidated. Because at the end of the day, we are just using dialogue to get the results that we are looking for.
And so most of the students who share their frustrations with me says they are vowing and ready to put their lives on the line. The agitated students of the Ghana Institute of Journalism who are demanding that the request of the authorities to defer most of them for failure of payment of fees be cancelled. They are not happy. They are very livid. A similar thing happened in 2018 where the students were very angry, and so we have police personnel mounting the premises of the school's gate, disallowing anybody from entering into the school. So let me engage some of them to understand what really their demands are. So really, what are you demanding?
We are demanding that the school should take whatever communique. Students aren't going to defer their courses. We have paid our school fees with penalty. We are in pandemic. A whole students have lost their jobs.
People are really struggling. They are really struggling. Do you know how they managed to pay their school fees? Even the deadline was over, but you allow the money to flow through that. Really makes sense. It is absolutely horrible. This is not the right to do this, and they have to understand. They have to understand that we are in COVID, and people are really struggling. This is absolutely bad.
I'm in level 200. I'm a level 200 student, and this one, like, it is so unfair. You give us a deadline. People pay with penalties. You allow them to register on the portal, and we to examine. Tell us to defer our course. Of fees this semester in this turbulent time, COVID-19, increment of fees, we just struggle to pay, and then you are now telling us to defer our course and come back to pay again. It's just not working.
I'm not affected, but we are all involved in this. If you are not affected, I sit back. One day, a policy to also affect me. So we are all together fighting this cause. We won't sit down for our colleagues to go and struggle, come and pay their fees, and tell them to go and sit at home for a year. Do you know what that's going to cost them? We are not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere, and we are in this with them. We are all staying here till management comes and say something to us.
1 other year.
Well, so yes, students of the Ghana Institute of Journalism there. Now, MP for Bilsa South, Dr. Clement Apak, an academician who is also deputy ranking member on the Education Committee of Parliament, was at the scene. He was crossing over to Parliament when some of the agitated students stopped him. He described the development as worrying and called on the authorities to review that decision.
So if the students have paid their fees, and even if they had not paid, and were allowed to register, and have studied, prepared, willing, and have the right frame of mind to write their exams, for the management of the institution to tell them that they should be fair, I don't think it is fair. I would say that they should be allowed to write their exams, and even when there are conditions that will mandate the authorities to hold students accountable for non-payment of fees, that can be done. The students are not going to run away. They will write. Some of them are continuing students. Some may be final year students. Even for the final year students, they will certainly come back to take their certificates. You can hold them accountable. But to say that they should not write their exams, I don't think it is fair at all. And I would want to implore management to revise its decision, because this is our future.
And on that note, we end this morning's edition of News in Brief. On Morning Update, as always, do log on to my xyzonline.com for more. And before I go, let me just say happy birthday to Claire and Chua Nyamesa. You are 10 years today. Happy birthday to you.
Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For Akwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Microfinance, growing with you.
If a cry na menyisika, etia ye mefui.
Ehin fa na menya bosia, edia tre medjuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre, miye bosia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yema kwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hye ya hodo bi te se dwadifo abosia, ekuokuo bosia, susu account. Eni da so wo ho savings account. Me bada chain savings account. Ene de keka ho. Press Suhum Rural Bank was 03422918696. Na won so wetumi aka se.
Suhum Rural Bank. Ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank. Enti me pa minie.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
Welcome back to the morning update on TV XYZ. Again, this program is proudly brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water, simply natural. Now, if you have been following the conversations, Wisdom Hedejome gave us details of a particular story that we will be discussing, which is that GIJ, Ghana Institute of Journalism, issued a statement about their students deferring courses because they paid their fees late. And the students are definitely not happy about that. Yesterday, there was a demonstration which nearly led into some altercation because as at the time they got to the school, the gate was locked and there were policemen around. And so because it was getting a bit crazy, for lack of better words, the police had to call in reinforcement. And the students, you know how students are, kept saying more police, more police. Yeah, but in the midst of that, Dr. Clement Akpak also came over and said that the management's decision was not a good one, and so they have to retract. In the studio with me this morning, I have two students, and hopefully the chairman of the interim committee that have been set up at the GIJ will be able to meet the conversations. If not, we will call him and have the conversation as well. So I have Anyabonu Patrick Abisiyene, I got it right. And also Ishmael Nilante Lamte as well. I think he was able to meet the management in the midst of the demonstration.
Yes.
So he will give us ditto story of what happened behind closed doors. Now, why the demonstration? Why didn't you just probably write a letter, or did you try that?
I won't call this a demonstration actually,
right,
because we're basically there to submit a petition to management that the decision they've taken was unfair, and they had to consider the material conditions in which we find ourselves in. So they reasoned on this decision. This is actually not the first time we are having such an issue in GIJ. Last year, somewhere around July, we were fighting for the increment of our fees. The system was hard, like people lost their jobs, people had to be laid off and all that, and management at that point had increased fees. Now we used every appropriate channel necessary, we wrote all the letters we could, went to parliament, did all we could, but we weren't getting the results. And one thing we noticed was that, see, the school wants their attention, so why don't you give them the attention they want and get what you also want? And that's what we did yesterday.
And what do you want exactly?
We want management to resent on their decision. So yesterday's intention was to be given audience, so we submit our petition, and we got that. Based on our convergence on campus, management saw that we were serious about this at this point, so they had to call some people in a meeting so that our grievances will be placed before them. And we think that's what we're looking out for yesterday. But today we are looking for a result that is going to resent the decision that was taken initially. So I'm actually not going to call what happened in the demonstration, because we are trying to blow it out of proportion as if we went there to be chaotic and violent. We actually went there on a peaceful gathering to ensure that our voices are heard, and that's what happened yesterday.
That doesn't look peaceful to me. Were you doing this at the expense of your life? Because there's still COVID happening, and I don't see any social distancing happening around there.
I think in some moments, we have to damn the consequences and try and do what we feel is right. There are some of us here who are not affected, but we are not going to sit down and take the side of the oppressor, that is management. If you have the elephant and the mouse in a battle and you stand behind, you are taking the side of the elephant. We are not doing that. We are damning the consequences, and we are making sure that even if we are not affected, our colleagues who are affected get justice and what is right.
Right. Now, Nilante, before this, did you try talking to the interim committee or even management?
I think that the interim committee that was formed had a specific function. Its role was clearly defined in the statement management released. The statement was very specific, that their mandate was to put or lay down structures and then timetable for the conduct of elections to be able to give the student legitimate leadership. So that was the specific duty of the committee. And so it wouldn't be appropriate to be involving the committee and its duties in this very situation.
Why not? Are they not supposed to be an intermediary if you can't get through to management?
Yes, they can. And I would like to be very clear that the committee members were part of the agitation. They were part of the process that we are calling for the management to resign their decision. And so it is just appropriate. But what I'm trying to say is that the committee has a very specific duty.
Right.
And to be frank, if management had recognized that we had an interim committee, such information could have been passed on to them, and they might have mitigated the crisis that might have come at this moment that we are experiencing. So if the committee was not recognized, then it means that they didn't see the committee as a student government that they needed to communicate with for them to equally transfer those kind of communication to us, the student.
But is this the first time something like this has been put out by the school?
No, 2018 we experienced the same situation, if not the same. It's just likely.
Exactly my point. So you have accepted it all this while. Why now?
We haven't, we didn't, in 2018 we demonstrated and we ensured that management gave our colleagues who were denied access to examination halls to write exams. And so they were allowed to write exams. Those who couldn't have taken the exams, the exams that happened earlier, for example, if you couldn't take part in 2 examinations, you were given the opportunity to continue the exams we are yet to write, and then do a resit for those you couldn't partake in.
Right.
And so we demonstrated, we ensured that our colleagues were given the opportunity to write exams. So we have never been silent on these issues at all.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. The school is saying that you didn't take their warning seriously. And so if you knew you had to pass here and there to pay your school fees, why didn't you do that earlier and leave it to get to this point?
I think that is not a fair comment. That is not a fair comment because you see, even when we went to management meeting yesterday, we told them that we understand we are supposed to meet certain requirements, but we came to you the beginning of the year, the end of 2020.
Okay.
We told you when you had the idea, the impression or the idea that you wanted to increase school fees. We told you that this is detrimental to the administration you want to, establish in the next academic year because students might not be able to foot the bill.
Right.
We told you, and so it means that we gave you forewarning that when you take these steps, these are the consequences, and it is happening today. We told management that they shouldn't increase school fees, but they went ahead to increase school fees on the basis that in 2019 Parliament passed the bill for an increment in fees, which we, in this situation, I feel wasn't right, because if Parliament had passed fees in 2019, you didn't charge it, and you feel that you can carry the charge forward, you needed to go back to Parliament and seek approval that I pardon the student. And therefore, I want to come back to you and ask that the student pay the fees this time around. You didn't do that. But you asked us to pay increment in fees, which the majority of students have paid for the fees you asked us to pay. Just a handful of students having been able. Why can't there be a pardon? Look at the COVID situation we are in. Students have lost their jobs. These are the exceptional cases where students have struggled and gone through everywhere, any means possible to get their fees.
Right.
And it is not as if the students who have been affected haven't paid their fees. Then you say that because they haven't paid the fees, then they don't have a say or they don't have a case. But they've gone through every means possible to get the money for you. You didn't tell them not to pay the fees. You allowed them to pay the fees into your account. You didn't give them warning that if you do this, you don't pay the fees at this point in time which you had given, these are the consequences. You did not do that. You allowed them, you expected, I feel that management was expecting that our colleagues will pay their fees. They paid it into your account, and then all of a sudden you drop a communique, very vague communique. It doesn't give any specificity to the issues.
Right.
Then you come and then you expect the student. How do you want students to react? Look at the mental state in which we are now. We have just 5 days to write the exams,
yeah.
and you bring this notice. Are you going to extend the examination timetable? How do you expect us to be in the right state of mind to write the exam you expect us to write?
I understand you met management yesterday, and
yes.
You in particular were in that meeting. What transpired in there?
I think that when the concerned tertiary students of GID went into the meeting with management, we went there with three how do you call it, pleas.
Right.
The first was to ask management that explain to us, what does the statement you brought mean? What does it mean? Because we don't understand it. So we went there to ask for meaning. They should give us clarity on what they had sent across. And then we equally were asking them, the second option was that to plead on behalf of our colleagues to be given the opportunity to write the exams. So at the meeting, what happened was that when we asked for clarity, management explained to us that they need our fees to be able to, register students. When the registration happens, academic work, takes off steadily. Where academic affairs is able to get the data of students, lecturers will also have access to those things and then give marks and all. We understand. Those are processes that you have to use to ensure that the academic work we are, having on campus is successful and efficient. We agreed with them. We told them that, yes, we know our colleagues have faltered. They haven't been able to do that. But at this point in time, when there is so much stress in pockets, everywhere in the world, even robust economies are struggling to be out of COVID-19. Ghana has met its fair share of the challenges that COVID-19 had brought financially. And so why then do so we told them that we plead with you. We understand. All these processes are to ensure that academic work goes on. But our colleagues have not been able to meet the deadline. But they have tried to pay. Please pardon them to be able to take the exams.
And what did they say to this?
They didn't give us any concrete decision. That is why they gave us an ultimatum of 24 hours where they will respond to us that either they have accepted our plea or not. But we are hopeful that management, which is a listening management, over the past period that we've engaged them, in several instances where we wanted dialogue, we expect that they will listen to this very cry of ours, allow the few students who have not been able to meet deadlines but have paid their fees to be given the opportunity to write exams.
Right. Now, Patrick, if the ruling doesn't go in your favor, what do you intend to do?
At the moment, I can't state specifics.
You haven't decided.
We have a plan, but I can't state the specifics of our plan at this point.
Just a peek into the future.
we can't actually put our thoughts out there at a point where we don't know the decision they are going to take. We're only going to make them much stronger and they'll be well prepared for us. But let's keep it to ourselves and see what happens.
You want to keep it to yourself. I mean, you stated earlier that he stated earlier that you have been having these type of demonstrations with regards to school fees, isn't it?
Yes.
And still, you are at this point. So, doesn't this mean that you haven't been radical enough?
That's to say that the school hasn't been listening enough.
He just said the management is a listening management.
That's what I wanted to. The management isn't a listening management.
Okay.
In the first place. And it's a point we should put out clearly. If you're listening management, you don't take decisions and do not involve your students. Now, it should be put on record that before this communique came out 2 days ago, there were students who were privy to this information because they were involved in this. Now, they've written several petitions to heads of the authorities. They've been to several places to plead so this decision will be rescinded. And from the beginning of this semester, not even a word came from the school. So, because the numbers were few, they were trying to keep this quietly so it goes away and the students get out of school. But I think probably the pressure that was coming was like, they couldn't bear that again, so they decided to put the information out. And you don't expect to put such an information out and require that we keep quiet on something like that. It's like very unfair and it's a clear injustice. See, if we want to look at the service we are getting in that school, it's nothing to write home about because the school hasn't dealt fairly with us at all. We are currently using our own money to buy data. The Google meeting and things we use, they are not paid for. You are on a class meeting and in the next 40 minutes it's cut and the lecturer has to go back to another 40 minutes. So at every 40 minutes you are joined just because they are not paying for the service. While you could pay for all these things. So the kind of stress we are going through as students isn't small, and you don't come to add this to us because we've been very considerate with the school. And you're expecting that the school should be considerate with us as well. And again, on the issue that we didn't take their warning serious. Let's be true to ourselves. If out of about 5,000 students and you just get only 80 to 100 people not paying school fees, that's a high level of seriousness from the students. Assuming we had about 3,000 people not paying their school fees, that's where you could probably say that we didn't take your warning seriously. But we actually took them seriously. We paid our fees, just 80 to 100 people. And there's a clear indication that the conditions in which they found themselves in at that time wasn't favorable enough for them to pay their fees, and you should be able to understand this. So the school at this point should be reaching out to people like this to find out why they couldn't pay their fees on time, even if probably there are some arrangement that could be made so that going forward, some of these people can be helped. We can do that, but you don't go ahead and, try to push students out of school after going through all this stress, some having to be laid off from their jobs and all that. And to be honest with you, I can say on authority that even those who have paid, not everyone has paid the full amount. Most people have paid just 60% because that's what is required of them to be able to register. If they want, they can bring the details out and to show you clearly that, see, people are trying their best to stay in school, and the management should be very considerate at this point. They should consider their kids being in our shoes and tell us how they are going to feel about this.
Right. So this is coming from Patrick. Management should put themselves in their shoes and see if their children were the ones in their place, they will still make the same decision. I would want to talk to the chairman of the SRC Interim Committee, Victor Yekple, and so I'll be right back.
We are going to stay here till they change it. The day they told us the deadline was up, the following the holiday. Exact following the 9th January was a holiday. You'd have to stay home Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I paid on a Monday. I paid the entire school fees on that Monday, only for me to come back. Actually, we paid in the school. We paid for project work. We paid for assignments. We've done a lot of things that cost so much money in this school. And you expect me to do it all over again? I paid almost 1,000. Despite the school fee, I paid almost 1,000 on presentations, project works, and everything. I paid all that, and you expect me to go back, go and stay at home, and come and spend the same 1 year, pay another 1,000, making 2,000, which I could have done something better with that money. Adding that to just my school fees, almost 4,520, and you expect me to stay home for nothing. I did not fail my exam. I just paid school fees late because it was a holiday. It was a holiday, and I had to wait an entire weekend to pay school fees, and you're telling me I should stay at home. Well, how would you?
The good news is that you still have one other year to come back to school.
1 other year? Do you think it's easy? Do you think it's easy? Do you know how stressful GIJ is? Do you understand? You don't. You have to stay home 1 year. You think it's easy that you come to school, then you have to stay home a year, not because you failed your exam, just because you paid school fees late. Just because you paid your school fees, money that they don't even know where you got it from. They made you pay your school fees late. They don't know where you got your money from. They don't know. But then because you paid late and they were sitting in their homes, they got notification on 11 January, 12 January, 25th January. So what? It doesn't work. It doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for us because they paid 25th January or they paid 11th. When they were supposed to pay on the 8th, they paid 11th. You got a notification on the 11th. So they should defer. They should stop schooling.
The school works with rules and regulation, and so if you have to pay your fees.
We paid fees. I was 8th January. I was in line. Fidelity.
Yeah, and that was a student from GIJ expressing displeasure in what the management is putting forward. Now, as I said earlier, I have in the studio Victor Yekple. He's the chairman of the interim committee that have been set up by the student body and the management. And so he will tell us what your committee is doing about this. What is your core mandate in all of this?
Our exclusive mandate in all of this is to organize elections and to put in place leadership for student grievances to be channeled through. However, it has become so obvious that we cannot watch our colleagues go through what they go through. I've been a victim. I had to borrow money on the very day, which was the deadline to pay my fees. I only finished paying back that debt, I think, last month. By sharing their pain, and as a student, I don't think I can just sit down all in the name of executing our exclusive mandate being to organize elections and allow my friends to suffer. That's why I have decided that I would also be part of the coalition of students against this.
So from what you're saying, I deduced that you had no idea as a committee about this decision taken.
Our exclusive mandate is to organize elections. So normally we are not invited to the table for discussions. However, we report to the Dean of Students. And we were expecting that at least representing students at that level, we would be consulted that this is the decision management is taking.
only for us to be told on Tuesday, that management has taken a decision on Monday without any student representative on that meeting. Right. And I think it's unfair.
Have you made your stance clear to students? Because a few of the students we spoke to, our reporter spoke to, seem to be very disappointed in the committee, saying that they feel you are in bed with them.
No, I understand them because our term of reference is yet to be released. So most of them do not know our mandate, what we are supposed to do. But yesterday, I think after engaging one or two of them, their fears were assuaged. And then they got to understand that it's not our mandate to lead that charge. But then we have also partnered with certain students to also charge or champion this particular cause.
Right. Ishmael, what do you expect of them?
We expect that this very situation presents them the opportunity to see the need to fast-track the process to restore student governance. Because if there is legitimate government that will, one way or the other, even prevent some of these problems before it gets to happen. And so that, which is their exclusive mandate, they should ensure that they as a matter of urgency, put the government in place so that students can be represented on boards of management where some of these top decisions are taken.
Right. Now, before I wrap up quickly, what have you decided to do? When I say you, I mean the committee. What have you decided to do about this?
Okay, from yesterday's meeting, management is supposed to release a communique by 12 noon. After that communique, if it goes positively, we are going to immediately open nominations around 5 or 6. Then hopefully receive the forms tomorrow, God willing. Then we are looking at conducting vetting on either Saturday or Sunday. But election should not go beyond next week. Should management response be positive? If it should go negative, I don't think students will be in the right frame of mind to talk about elections. When management decision goes in our favor today, election should not go beyond next week. God willing.
But if it doesn't, what do you intend to do about this? Because the students still have to defer their
that is where we would have to let them understand that it has become imperative to organize elections. So they have to be interested in this election so as to put in place leadership that can represent us at that top level.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming into the studio. I have been talking to two students, Anya Bonu Patrick and also Ishmael Nilante Lamte, and the chairman for the interim committee, Victor Yekple, who have explained the situation, what they intend to do, and what they are hoping the management will come out to say. This is in regards to the GIJ, Ghana Institute of Journalism, not allowing their students, or saying they are not going to allow the students to write the exams if they pay their fees late, and saying that they should defer their course until next year, which of course the students are not happy about. This has been the social segment on the morning update on TV XYZ, proudly brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water. Eric Ahianyo will be sitting down soon for the newspaper review.
Welcome to Auto Check Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many Accra.
Sure.
Check, auto checks, check, auto checks, check.
Emission, check.
Check, auto checks.
Alignment, check.
Auto checks, check, auto checks.
Brakes, check. Visit Auto Checks at Koforidua Aquadrum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
Check, auto checks.
Auto checks. Check.
Auto Checks. Your safety, our priority.
Check, auto checks.
This is TV XYZ morning update on TV XYZ, I said earlier, and Wizard TV. This morning, we are doing the newspaper review with an interview I had with the MP for, I think, South Dai, Roxanne Daframako. The conversation was on the Auditor General's report spanning 2017 and 2019. The revelations in there are quite worrying. 20 billion cedis stolen, some in the form of cash, some in the form of procurement breaches, others unaccounted for expenses, and so on. And this interview talks about things that you and I should be worried about. We are paying taxes because government needs money to run this country. We are crying because these taxes will make us suffer. While government is allocating close to $7 billion for all the government flagship programs in 2021 alone in the budget, that is at the appropriation stage at the committee levels for the various sectors of the economy, 20 billion in 3 years. If you divide it by 3, it means that almost every year about 6.8 billion is stolen. And this is equal to what has been allocated for all government projects this year. Listen to this interview I had with Roxanne Dafamako, and you will understand why you should be angry this morning.
A summary of the findings by the Office of the Auditor General. Now, what the findings point to are that in 2017, when this government came to office, at the end of 2017, financial irregularities alone amounted to 12 billion. In fact, in excess of 12 billion Ghana cedis. Now, in 2018, the financial irregularities as established by the Auditor General amounted to in excess of 3 billion Ghana cedis. In 2019, the financial irregularities detected by the Office of the Auditor General amounted to 5 billion. Now, if we put all this together, you get 20 billion Ghana cedis by way of financial irregularities, or in the popular term, monies that were lost to the state through malfeasance, misapplication of funds, unaccountability, and all under this government. And that is not all. And this is the report that carries that information. This is the report. It's about it's a 1,123 or 1,126 page report by the Auditor General, and it's in respect of public boards, corporations, and statutory institutions alone. Board chairmen selling state property, pocketing state money. Now, if you look at this other one, this are on the management utilization of district assemblies common fund and other statutory funds. This one also establishes a malfeasance level or an irregularity level totaling about, in 2017, the level of financial irregularities or malfeasance was about 40 million or almost 41 million among assemblies. In 2018, it went to 120 million. In 2019, it went up to 124 million. So if you put 120 million plus 124 million, that gives you 244 million. If you add 40 million to this, it's gone through the roof. Assemblies alone. Financial malfeasance, monies that they cannot account for in 3 years. Now, this also talks about report of the Auditor General on the accounts of district assemblies. It also establishes some level of malfeasance among the assemblies. And you are I am so shocked about the level of public monies that is going down the drain. And if you look at what's happening in terms of dissipation of public funds, the sheer level of that, and the fact that the level of nonchalance that this government has demonstrated towards the office of the special prosecutor since it was established, it leads you to one irresistible conclusion, and that is that they are not interested in office of the special prosecutor going after or recovering some of these monies, because these are corruption related matters. You understand what I'm saying? So we just consider the budget for the office of the special prosecutor, and it's something I want us to touch on maybe later in the interview.
20 billion cedis in 3 years. Would you say that the report categorically mentions people involved who can be sought after to cough the money or explain?
For instance, if you take Ministry of Education, cash irregularities, financial irregularities in respect of cash alone was about 40 million. Payroll irregularities, about 3.8 million. Procurement irregularities, about 10 million. And another involving about $3 million. Stores irregularities, about 330,000. Contract irregularities, 86 million. Ministry of Education alone. If you take Ministry of Youth and Sports, cash irregularities, that's about 3.8 million. Payroll irregularities, about 20 million. 20.7 million. That's for Ministry of Youth and Sports. All under this government. If you take Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, cash irregularities, 89 million. Where are they getting the money from? I mean, how do you cash irregularities amounting to almost 90 million? Now, payroll irregularities, 500,000. Procurement irregularities, almost 1 million. And that is about Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. If we go to trade, cash irregularities, 53 million Ghana cedis. Payroll irregularities, 3.1 million. Procurement irregularities, 1.1 million. That's Ministry of Trade alone. Ministry of Information, cash irregularities, 1.7 million. Payroll irregularities, almost 200,000.
Now, from the excerpts that you have shared with us, it becomes obvious that the cash irregularities seem to be recording huge figures. Is it that the oversight responsibility by some state agencies in this regard to ensure that this does not happen are conniving or weak?
They become endemic under this government. Why would cash irregularities in one ministry amount to almost 90 million Ghana cedis? Cash. It means either that monies are taken, raw cash are taken, or fiscal monies are given to people, and they are supposed to account for what they've done with it, and they haven't accounted for it. And like I told you, it's a very fat report because it covers 3 years. Very, very fat report. So we are going to deal with this matter. Fortuitously, I'm a member of the Public Accounts Committee. This will be referred to us. And let me say this. It's not going to be business as usual, where people will come, they will now go and cook documents to come and justify the irregularities that have been established against them. You know, by the nature of the procedural processes provided under the law, you ought to have done that before the final reports were prepared.
Now, it's interesting to hear this, but I know that in the past, the Public Accounts Committee has been very categorical telling ministries, department, and agency heads that if some of these anomalies are not checked or people are brought to book, it was not going to approve budget allocations to them. We've just seen the 2021 budget approved. How are you going to factor this into your work to ensure that at least people are held accountable or monies are coughed back to the state?
The budget has not been approved. You know, when the budget is presented in Parliament, it's a motion so when a motion like that is moved, then it has to be seconded and the vote taken on it. So it is the motion that the budget be approved that was taken. The actual approvals is what we are doing now. So until we pass appropriation, which is the actual approval of the budget and giving government the license, the sectorial approvals refer to the various standing and sector committees. So they are handling it. So for instance, as a member of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, we have oversight over some state agencies like the AG's office, Ministry of Justice and Attorney General, like Registrar General, like Legal Aid Commission and all that. There are estimates and so who approve budgets for their activity for 2021.
And other committees.
And other committees. So that is the process. So at the consideration of the estimates, we are dictating a lot of things. So some state agencies are being asked to go and put their house in order and come back and all that. And you must have just heard that, in fact, the president has just written to Speaker in respect of the budget for Parliament and that of the judiciary. You know, there was an initial issue.
So the capping issue is being addressed?
Yes, it has been addressed. He has negotiated his way through that, using legitimate means in law. You see, because Asante Bedieto wrote in a very condescending manner to Speaker and to Parliament. That was why Speaker rejected his position. And the President himself have had to concede that fact and come back in a formal communication, compromising as it were. You know, you have to meet each other halfway. And he has agreed and done that. And so from the initial very low ceilings that they place on the budgetary allocation, it's been reviewed.
Some will say we've heard this before. The Public Accounts Committee has met, you have issued instructions, you have made promises, threats here and there, and not much has come out.
Every parliament is different. I agree that I was in the 7th parliament, but I wasn't a member of the Public Accounts Committee, even though I remain a friend. I suspect that it was because of my work as a friend of the committee that has today elevated me to be made a member. We'll take our work seriously. And where we detect corruption, we'll let the appropriate institutions take the immediate remediable steps in law to recover the monies that are due the state. But believe you me, this committee will not be the usual Public Accounts Committee that you know. Things will be very hot, really, really very hot this time around.
Okay, now you also wanted to talk about the Special Prosecutor's Office, because in all these, it should play a key role in chasing those who are involved.
Yes, and if I may refer you to the report that we took today. They appeared before us, I think, last week, and you'll be shocked that, for instance, the Special Prosecutor's Office says in their 2020, in fact, the report last year. So when we're reviewing their 2019 performance, they had this to say about their performance. They had this to say. The conclusion of 2 investigations and commencement of prosecution against 8 accused persons. That was one of their key achievements for 2019, contained in the 2020 report to Parliament. they received 46 complaints and petitions as at the end of October 2019 and referred them for investigations. These are 2019 activities. They collaborated effectively with relevant agencies to prevent corruption. And 4, they worked closely with the audit service through information intelligence sharing and conduct of joint investigations. This is the 2020 report. Office of the Special Prosecutor again comes to Parliament this year and cites the following as achievements for 2020. And what are the achievements? The conclusion of 2 investigations and commencement of prosecution against 8 accused persons. Are they not the same things they cited in 2019 as an achievement? My brother. Again, here, instead of the number of complaints they received in 2019, very, very interesting. Here they said they received in 2019 as by way of achievement, they said they received 46 complaints. So they cited it as an achievement. In 2020, 2021, they haven't told us what happened to those complaints, even though they said in 2019 that they had referred them for investigations. They have come back in 2021 to say that in 2020, as part of the achievement, they received 14 complaints and petitions from the public and replies were sent to the complainants indicating actions to be taken while investigations commence on most of them. So what happened to the 46 complaints they received in 2019? They are silent. Then again, they are saying they collaborated effectively with relevant agencies to prevent corruption. How did they?
As an achievement?
As an achievement. Then again, as listed in the 2020 report to Parliament, in the 2021 report, they again saying that they collaborated with the audit service through information and intelligence sharing and conduct of joint investigations. And I asked, what are these joint investigations? They've not been able to tell us, even though they are citing it as an achievement. Then they said they issue a corruption risk assessment report. I have asked for a copy of that report. Corruption risk assessment report. Have you ever cited it?
No.
Exactly.
So are you rejecting this, or this is pending further investigations?
We have approved their estimates for the activities for 2021. But these are very glaring issues arising from the report. It appears that somebody sits in the office and is just doing copying and paste. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So why would you approve a budget for a state agency depending on the taxpayer and turn around to complain about shoddy work done?
I am not complaining. I'm telling you how the government is looking at the agency.
No, what I'm suggesting is that perhaps your committee would have been a tool to at least straighten them up.
We have. For instance, if you look at the 2029 report, even though the special prosecutor in particular worked for the whole of 2029, there was no budgetary allocation for his compensation.
2019.
For 2019. And so I was hoping that in the 2020 report being submitted to Parliament in 2021, there would have been an indication as to how he got paid. Even though for 2020, for the work that he did, there's some level of compensation. You interrogate that and they are unable to explain. So this government is simply paying lip service to the issue of fighting corruption and corruption-related offenses in this country. Because why? This audited accounts report is replete with innumerable, I cannot enumerate them, innumerable incidents of corruption and corruption-related instances of inofficial.
Now, copy of the Appendix 6 of the cost of government flagship programs in the 2021 budget. And you'd realize that Microfinance and Small Loans Center, Maslock, was allocated 48 million. The Nation Builders Corps, 672 million cedis. The National Identification Authority, 200 million cedis. Free SHS for 2021, government has allocated 1,974,021,968 cedis. Government communication, 4 million. Planting for food and jobs, I see 432 million cedis. One district, one factory program, 164 million.
164.2.
164,296,000. That's 164.2, as you have said. Then water and sanitation, 90 million cedis. Roads infrastructure, you see 952 million, 952.5. So you're approximating them. Let me continue the rest. Railway development, I see 136.3 million. Fish landing sites, 23.2 million. 29.2 million. Special development initiatives, 852.1 million. Zongo Development Fund, 83.1 million. Livelihood Employment Agency Poverty, you have 197.5 million. Then school feeding program, 488.8 million. Then we have regional reorganization development, 252.3 million. Teacher trainee allowances, 169.9 million. And the nursing trainee allowances, 231.2 million cedis. If you put all these together, you have 6.9 billion, 6.9 billion or 7 billion if you approximate the 9.97. Now, all what I've mentioned is just about 7 billion.
And it's I like the analogy that you are. I like the juxtaposition. It tells you that if we seal the loopholes in our public space, we'll have sufficient money to undertake other development projects. It's as simple as that. But these monies are finding their ways into public pockets. And that is what should worry us. And that's equivalent to $4 billion lost to this country in 3 years. And that is public boards operated by state institutions. You know, public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions. I have listed at least 5 ministries. 5 ministries where cash in one of them, cash irregularities was nearly 90 million Ghana cedis.
Which is the same as the allocation to the water and sanitation sector.
Thank you.
The 2021 budget is 90 million.
And that is underemployment. These cash irregularities identified underemployment amounted to 90 million. Employment, Ministry of Employment. Why?
Okay. All right.
So these are matters that you media men should take interest in. Yes, we are being taxed. Look, the president has become like a Lycurgus. If you know your history, if you know who a Lycurgus, he was a very famous lawgiver. You know, but he was very draconian with his taxes. He's become like a Lycurgus, giving us very draconian laws and milking us dry.
You seem to be angry.
I am upset. Because you hear this government talk every time about being the best. Did you hear when he spoke when he delivered his SONA? The president opened his mouth and told us that they are tradition. They are the best protector of the public pets. That is what the president said at SONA. When indeed the indicators do not point to that fact. So like my neighbor would say, Alaji ABA Fuseni. Like he says, when these people tell you good afternoon, you must look up, check the position of the sun before you respond. Perhaps why? Because it would have been in the morning or at night.
What do you expect the members on the other side of Parliament to join you to collectively do?
We'll do our duty. And I hope that we all took an oath of office to be good representatives of our people and protect and defend the Constitution. And by defending the Constitution, you defend the public purse. That will defend the public purse. Every time MPs are damned, you are condemned. It is time the shift moves away, the searchlight moves away from MPs to public servants, board chairmen, taking as much as 200,000 and won't account for it because it's a board chairman.
But it is you, the politicians in high office, who appoint them, and therefore the ultimate responsibility stops at your door.
I don't appoint persons onto boards. I do appreciate what you mean, but if you don't move away from
directing
the hasty generalization, you see, when you get the privilege of serving as a board chairman, when the president appoints you or makes you a chairman of a board, you have a duty by our corporate governance structure. You owe a fiduciary duty to the board and the company to serve it and ensure that you act in the best interest of the state entity. But people are rather using their positions on boards to fleece the institution and by extension the nation. Now, what is also ironical in that I have since coming to Parliament and discovered that there are some chief executive officers in this country who even earn more than the president. It's also another distortion in our public income structure that we must address. I don't think that there should be anybody that should work in this country and earn more than the president in any public institution. And so I don't expect, for instance, any MP in this house to earn more than the speaker. But the irony is in the executive, but the opposite is existing in the executive, where a chief executive of a public institution, sometimes appointed by or nominated by a minister and confirmed by the president, earn like times 5 the salary of the Minister of State
and the president.
A chief executive earns as much as 120,000 Ghana cedis a month, minus other emoluments. And so, how much do you think a chairman of such a board of such a state institution will earn? Even if they can't put it on paper, they will find a way of giving it to him as allowance.
So that was Roxanne Dafamapo. This interview obviously will always be on TVXYZ, Xyz TV, on Facebook and YouTube. You can always go for it. Loaded. Yesterday when I finished the interview, I was finding out, what really should we do? We know for a fact that there are about 600 to 700,000 people working and being paid by government across the country. Around 700,000 people who are paid by government. We call them government workers. And all the expenses on these people, plus everything involved, is taking about 50 to 70% of the revenue we generate. So the 30% is government, is what is left for government to develop this country. And these public sector workers, in my opinion, are supposed to be gatekeepers. And many of them are conniving in the daylight thievery. And I'm sure you listened to the conversation. Cash lost. Cash. 90 million at one of the ministries compared to 90 million cedis allocated to the water and sanitation sector for this year, 2017. The whole country, the allocation for water and sanitation sector is 90 million. That's the reality. I'm sure in the conversation you heard that the president has decided that because of the threat by the Speaker of Parliament, the capping of the budget to the legislature, they have sent back 180 million cedis. And I've been looking at the allocations to the flagship programs under this government for 2021, and I ask myself, what really informs the distribution or the sharing of the national cake? Because Parliament alone is going to take over 532 million cedis or so for this year. So when I was walking out of Parliament, I looked around and I said, what really are they using the money for? 532 million. And the railway sector development, if you look at the budget, it's some peanuts compared to that. So if we decide that the state does not have money, can we cut down costs? Because on daily basis, some yellow book, some green book, they call them other paper or whatever is there. All you see in it is the names of people who were present or otherwise. Meanwhile, we are in modern Ghana, and technology is the day. And I believe that Parliament has been retuned, so it should be such that they may have a facility in front of them where every information they print on daily basis, every day they print, could have been made software so that you sit there and ask the speaker or whoever is going through, you are seeing it. And that money saved can be used to build a borehole in my village at Avanokofa. Look, I just want you to have a feel of why things seem to be going very slow. And it didn't start today. I refuse to limit it to one particular regime. Yes, it's serious that 20 billion from 2017 to 2019 is serious. Well, this morning, I'm joined by former MP for, is it Bursa North? I know you are Timothy. The rest, because I don't eat Tuozafi. Because I don't eat Tuozafi,
because
I have to leave you to mention them
around the region.
If it was an every name, yes, because of what I used to soothe my throat, yeah, and the hot food I eat, I could have mentioned it easily. Yes. I believe you understand the terminologies I'm using.
Certainly.
It's loaded. Certainly. Only Evers will understand. Yeah. What's the other name?
The other name is Atabuade Awontirim. Atabuade
Awontirim.
Yeah.
You are welcome.
Thank you, my brother. And good morning to our viewers out there.
The content or the issues or revelations in the interview was such that I deliberately wanted us to have a listen.
Yeah.
There are so many issues there. Yes, anytime money is lost to the state, we go after politicians. We accuse a whole regime. So Mahama regime is corrupt. Akufo-Addo regime is corrupt. Kufuor regime is corrupt. I believe Rawlings regime was corrupt, according to our own narration. But if you look at what has happened, boards, statutory institutions, etc., agencies, and if you go through the report, you realize that one politician, as head of a particular ministry or department or as a board chairman alone, cannot steal. Because if you go to the public sector, paperwork plays good role. Now, after listening to this conversation without being biased, how does it come across to you?
Yeah, let me say good morning once again to our cherished viewers. You see, certainly I would be biased. Why would I be biased? I'll be biased because of the pronouncement this government made before they came to power. They pledged to fight corruption. In fact, the president in his address said that he was coming to protect the public purse. The president said that if you want money, go to the private sector. What happened to those jargons? And coming events cast their shadows. From day one, the issues of corruption were staring in the eyes of the president through the presidency. When issues of when you want to see the president, you must pay $20,000 came up. These were issues that were begging for investigation. If corruption starts at the head, if the head starts rotting, what do you want us to do? And you see the interesting thing, when the issues of corruption come out, instead of us to discuss it dispassionately, we have people whose job is to defend whichever government that is in power on issues of corruption. And they'll fight it and make the issue murky and murkier as we discuss them. It is mind-boggling that this is a country that borrows. We borrow more than we generate our income here. And if the money is garnered, we don't use it judiciously. We rather squander the money by individuals. And what pains me, my brother, is that when these individuals steal our money, They turn around.
You say individuals.
I'm coming the individuals in the various institutions, be they national, the state institutions, MMDS, and the ministries. They are individuals that steal the money. It's not the institution that swallows the money. So those who have been made in charge to supervise and ensure that budgets allocated to them are used judiciously for investment purposes, find a way of stealing the money. Now when they steal the money and finish, they'll turn around and tell us that they are self-made people. You understand what I'm telling you? They'll tell us that we are self-made people. And year in, year out, this corruption issue has become an albatross. Are we saying that we cannot fight it? It has become an albatross. My brother, corruption, when the budget is read, we are told that this amount of this project cost us this amount of money. This project. So what is the cost of corruption to the people of this country? What is the cost of corruption? They should tell us the cost of corruption to the people of this country. And I'm not surprised because corruption has become a project under this government. Almost every facet of life has been corrupted. And we'll come to them one after the other. Look at the figures our brother was revealing. Very disturbing figures. How can a ministry, salary irregularities, be up to 80 million? Our brother, Minister of Education, contract irregularities, 86 million Ghana cedis. Where have you heard this before? And no one is punished. No one is held accountable. People are allowed to loot and go scot-free. The lust for money.
You have been
I'm coming. Let me land on it.
I'm here alone with you, so we have more time.
Yeah.
You have been a member of parliament before.
Yeah.
You know that public account committee sittings didn't start today.
I agree with you.
All the years past,
I agree.
Issues of this nature come up.
Yes.
I remember a few years ago, the public accounts committee said, when these infractions are come up in the Auditor General's report, and the individuals don't pay back, or those heading those institutions do not ensure that they block them, and even if they are dead, they recover the money.
Yes.
Allocations will not be approved for them.
Yes.
But we have been approving them.
Yes, because
you have been approving them, and you are sitting here complaining.
No, I'm not complaining. We are digesting the issues. I am not complaining. I am digesting the issues so that we get to the nitty-gritty of the matter. Look, public account says that we have a chief executive of the state. What do you also do? What is your action? The president tells us that. The president tells us that if you want money, go to the private sector. Is that not what he told us? Anti-corruption.
Why are you directing your anger at government and not at the public service worker?
I am coming there.
Public sector service worker.
I am coming there.
Who should help us? Because all of us are taxpayers.
I'm coming there.
I continue to pay tax, what is used to service, let's say 600,000, 700,000 people. And if you have ever gone to any village in this country before and you see the deprivation, you come from Musa North, and this is going on, and they are sitting there at the public sector working, and every time we jump at the politicians. That is my anger this morning.
My issue is that who supervises the public and civil servants? Is the politician. And the politician, when it is good, they take the credit. They don't even mention the civil servant's name. Why is that when it is bad, the politicians run from it? What lessons have we learned all as politicians? What lessons? When it is good, it is the minister who did it. Look at the stories about flashy programs that have succeeded. That it was the minister, Howard Kumsen. They told us that he has imported how many buses and so on. They attribute goodness to them. But when it comes to corruption and other bad governance, we don't attribute it to it. Then what is the use of heading the ministry? Then we should leave the ministry.
What is the essence of a certain chief director in charge of
then
finance,
we should leave.
In charge of finance at, let's say, the Ministry of Education?
Yeah.
Or a certain audit service within the ministry which is supposed to play some key role in protecting the public purse.
If we want to hold the chief directors responsible, let them head the institutions. Then we can hold them responsible. But look at what has, if you read the whole thing, it is always that a board chairman is taking 200,000 Ghana cedis for what? Is he a civil servant? Who appointed the board chairman? Most of these state institutions are supervised and managed by boards who implement government policies and programs and do directions of that. And they become part and parcel of the rot and the stealing that goes there. That is the issue. And we must hold people responsible. If the civil servant is culpable of stealing, hold him. If the board chairman, why do we constitute boards to supervise? Why do we constitute boards and dissolve them at an appropriate time? We had a lot of issues on that. That's why I'm taking the president, of course. He talked about his anti-corruption credentials. And you know how they boasted about how anti-corrupt he is. And that he will not take the nonsense for any penny. He himself has started it. Remember the recent issue about Professor Jimabodi, who talked about the fact that present corruption credentials are in tatters with the forceful sacking of the Auditor General. And this Auditor General, you know his credentials.
And
he's one fellow,
this particular Auditor General,
and they describe
2017 to 2019.
They describe
the handiwork
Professor Jimabodi
of Daniel Domilico and his staff.
Yes, he was described as loose and thoughtless. Loose and if they describe as thoughtless, do you know the meaning? Little mind, you don't think. And that is, if this is a corruption fighter, interestingly, Professor Jimabodi has his links even with the MPP. They describe him like that. All those who try to fight corruption under this government, where are they? Martin Amidi tried his best. Where is he? You think it is for nothing that Martin Amidi described the president as mother serpent of corruption? He knows a lot. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I am telling people that what Martin Amidi has is beginning to serialize them. This country will go crazy. What happened? Tell me. What happened to Domlovo? It's an embarrassment to the whole world. We say we want to fight corruption. We've gotten an Auditor General who said, look, I'll put my work online and fight corruption. What happened to him?
So if you listen to the interview carefully, he tried to break down the infractions at some of the ministries.
Yeah.
At least as we speak, on the face of the Auditor General's report, 20 billion cedis in the form of cash or procurement breaches or other forms of irregularities has been lost to the state.
Yeah.
The question is, how should we see Parliament? How should we see government to go after the people or the money?
You see, before I come to your question, the CDD made a research. And that was in June 2019. That since its inception in November, that is the think tank, Corruption Watch has discovered 9.6 billion cedis have been stolen. Not even the Auditor General. This is CDD. The Executive Director, Professor Kwesi Prempeh, put this out there. That this government under it, from 2017 to 2019, have stolen. The word they use is stolen. They didn't use even the word corruption is even better. They've stolen from public purse. That's a quoted statement. 9.6 billion. Such a report has come from a think tank. How many years down the line? 2 years. What has happened? I tell the government didn't see this and to begin to put up measures to ensure that those who stole the money are returned and prosecuted so that it serves as a deterrent to other would-be corrupt human beings. What we do is to hail them and for them to turn around and tell us that they are self-made men in this country, yet they only use the pen to steal. Now, the issue about what are we doing as Parliament? Look, like Honorable the Fiamma said, it's no more going to be business as usual. They are going to ensure that those who
have heard this before.
Yes, we now have
the typical fancy man will say, "Yatsabre."
Yes, I agree because you are getting frustrated.
Yes, because
just like the public is getting
does not
frustrated.
direct their anger at certain key
I am
institutions.
coming to the public.
You know, when I spoke, I said, if you look at the budgetary allocation to Parliament or the parliamentary service, it's over 530 million cedis for 2021 alone.
Yes.
If Parliament is supposed to play an oversight responsibility, and these things are going on, and all we hear is threat, but the public is not informed about the quantum of such recoveries, then it is either we collapse all the institutions and sit down and then move about freely with as if we are living in the jungle. Because people are being taxed, people are sweating, people are dying as we speak because they cannot be moved across water bodies because there's no bridge. Bad roads are depriving people of their livelihood and their future. Schools are non-existent in communities where children have been left but for nothing because they have to just go and follow their parents to their farms. And this has been going on at least for 50 years. Let's leave the first 7-10 years after independence. And here is where we are.
I agree with you, especially with my background.
It's going to be a thing of the past. Then what are we talking about?
My background as a rural MP and coming from the rural, all the things you've espoused clearly resonates where I come from. And that we have people still drinking from ponds that, what do you call it? Animals take from. My brother, look at the one district, one dam issue. How much went into a dam? 250,000, is that not it? Do you know what 20 billion could have done to irrigable dams? Let me come to the subject. Corruption comes in several forms, apart from what has been uncovered. Some of even these judgment debts, they are forms of corruption that government officials collude with foreign entities. That look, you know, we are terminating your contract, but and then they will pass behind and say, file a judgment, then when the money is given to them, they are shared. Take it or leave it. Because you cannot understand why some contracts are wantonly cancelled without regard to due procedure and law. And the law is very clear on how to terminate a foreign contract. Is that not it? It goes through Parliament. You know how the law is very clear. Is it not mind-boggling that the minister who has just taken over, you've just taken over and your issue is to go and cancel a project that how I started, then you come and cancel, knowing very well that it's going to cost the country millions of dollars? Do you think there's a genuine cancelling? Do you think that's not a conduit to siphon public money? These are the things that should go into our mind.
All the English you are speaking, the poor man watching you is saying that what is the solution?
I am coming. If you don't raise the issue,
just recently, just recently,
solutions.
There was something they called the public financial management reforms.
Yeah.
And then the gift mix came about.
Yes.
And all these were tools government wanted to use to block leakages.
Yes.
Where are we? 20 billion.
Yes.
How did it happen?
You know, when I started with the president, you were saying I should look at it holistically, which I agree with you, because the issue of corruption has even dominated our campaigns and so on. But when you clearly come and say you have the magic wine to seal off all those conduits, and yet it is exacerbated, it has become monstrous in your regime, we'll use you as a benchmark to also talk about the rest. And I'm saying that because, look, I am even giving you other reports. I've given you what the CDD said. And I'm also telling that between 2017 to 2019, tax exemption alone was 5.2 billion. You think it's right? Don't you think 5.2 billion? And this 5.2 billion is enough to cover all the excess, the expenditure of free HSS. Tax exemption from 2017 to 2019 is 5.2 billion. I'm right, is it not mind-boggling? You think it's tax exemption alone? Pullman Hotel, tax exemption was how much? $24 million. Are we a reasonable country? A private man's hotel, you go and give tax exemption, 24 million. You see, if we don't look at the thing holistically and look at where the monies are even being filtered out, we'll be fighting an elusive fight. One, you talked about the fact that what are the solutions. I think the public are not angry enough.
I am angry this morning.
Yeah.
How angry do you want them to become?
If the public is angry, we've seen how
pressure on all the agencies involved.
We've seen how reports like this have turned the government upside down. We've seen it in other countries where reports about the misuse of public funds, why the people suffer, and other people live in luxury, and they do not even know what is happening, have turned governments upside down, and people went on the street. And I keep saying that, look, you see, when human power is said that no amount of nuclear weapon or atomic energy can stop the movement of the people when they are angry against a certain system. You use the soldiers up to one time, we even join the mob to fight you. It's an issue that we must look at and accept that it is there. Corruption do occur in the Western countries, but the horizontal and vertical institutions are up and doing, you know it. As a result, you can still today, tomorrow they will arrest you. Look at the reports like you rightly put it, from the beginning up to today. What has happened to all those who squandered the money? What has happened to parliamentary PAC committee reports? Later on, they recommend them to government.
What I know is that at least some recoveries have been made.
No, some they do some recoveries behind the scenes.
Smaller,
but it's far smaller. And they even, you see the interesting thing, is the small ones, the weak ones that they collect from, but the tough one they can't collect. We are in this country.
Could it be possible that those whose actions mandated by the state is to help us recover the money could end up being heavily influenced, and so they sweep all these issues under the carpet, only to turn around and come and present another report? We cry about it and we let go.
You remember Martin Amidi captured that aspect in his report, that the investigators he sent to do the investigation said the job was too lucrative for them to do. You know, you just captured that as if you were Martin Amidi's mind. You know, he captured the aspect, what you said, that those he sent to do the investigation got compromised. So they come out with reports that are bizarre, that you cannot get the head and tail of it. You see, I've worked as an investigator for 10 years with Shrag. And I know some of these, even as a small investigator, I know when I'm investigating issues, what comes to my table. But you must be a man. You must really stand for the truth.
Sometimes it can be juicy.
I know what comes. Every inducement.
You don't like juice?
My beliefs do not allow me. My beliefs do not allow me.
On the lighter side.
Chirac has investigated the PPA boss of stealing over 50 million. They were the stealing. So don't tell me to change it. Chirac investigated and said that. What has happened to him? One fellow, they are given an appointment of 4 years. Within let me learn on this note. Within 2.5 years, you've taken over 50 million from the people of Ghana into private account. The companies you used, we don't even know what is embedded in that company. We don't know the source of funding. So corruption has permeated almost every fabric of our society, yet we continue to hail those who are corrupt and look at them to be people that whom we should worship in the public, yet you and I know they are very corrupt. And my brother, don't be surprised, you'll be here talking about corruption and you go out and BNI people are waiting for you, that you have mentioned some people have stolen money. So if you don't have the balls, you don't even talk about corruption. Corruption is now like a project. And let me tell you, we've been saying this in 20 billion.
That's about 4 billion.
20 billion. Do you know the Eurobond?
That's about $4 billion.
Let me tell you something. I'm a member of parliament. Let me tell you something.
I believe that at this stage, I'll come back to you. At this stage, people listening to us may want to send in their text messages. I even wish somebody can call us as an angry Ghanaian this morning and let's hear his or her voice. The number to text us is 0556 999 999. 0556 999 999. I'll be reading them very soon. Timothy, I'm struggling to mention the other names. Can you say it for me?
Ataboade Awontirim.
Awontirim Timothy is the former MP for Bilsa North. The finance minister will be appearing before budget. So I want us to wrap up quickly.
The corruption issue is always very important. Look, COVID fund alone, the COVID funds that this government has taken, are we together? COVID funds alone, I would want a forensic audit to be done. Parliament should spearhead that to be done into the expenses of the COVID fund. And my brother, it will shock you. Look, they've taken over 17 billion. I started saying this thing over the COVID fund. What did they use the money for? No single project was built. You see, when you even steal and invest into capital projects, it has a tendency to even assume.
But we know the COVID fund, a greater percentage was spent on consumption-related issues.
That is where the corruption is. Look at Get Fund. Get Fund, you went and picked 1.5 billion to pay contractors and to invest in infrastructure. You have not done one. And the money, you have used it in procurement of cars. Esla has generated over $20 billion. It is projected about 2024, Esla would get another 20 billion. That's over 40 billion Ghana cedis. We still own the energy sector 1.5 billion. Bloomberg even reported it. 1.5 million. The energy sector is struggling. Yet Esle alone, my brother, Esle alone is over 20 billion. What was the money used from? I was hearing this guy, the MP for Bongo the other day saying that, look, my brother, listen to what he said. He said that the energy sector report shows that this government procures bulbs, you know bulbs, this bulb, the light bulbs, $180 million yearly, bulbs for MMDAs. Bulbs, so not to wire the place, bulbs in dollars.
That's why, in my opinion, so the anger must equally be directed at people who are either civil or public servants, who, if anything at all,
it should cut across.
We don't trust the politicians. These are the people who should be working on our behalf.
But who approved the $180 million buying of bulbs in the energy sector, when the energy sector is still reeling in debts over 1.5 billion?
Maybe they are sending them for street light projects or to rural areas.
I say MMDAs. You don't get the MMDAs. Not rural lighting. You don't get what I'm saying. The ministry, the MMDAs, it's not for street lighting and rural lightening. It's the MMDAs. $180 million. That's the energy sector.
Let me do a few text messages. I'm here alone with you, so you don't have a problem. Let me do a few text messages. This one says, one second, it's sent to Kenneth Furiata's vetting today is waste of time and money. Since those in parliament say they don't have power to reject anybody, the president has nominated definitely. It's obvious that the finance minister shall certainly go through as MP, so as Minister for Finance. This text message, I mean, they send and keep sending, so I have to go down. The center cannot hold in NDC with the sacking of Alotiji Corps and the suspension of Atubiga. I will cut your messages short so that I can read. Plenty have come in. If MPP government want to capture power again in 2024, then the party should take care of the foot soldiers, grassroots, and serial callers. This one came from, is it DJ Omale, Wayoshi or something? This one says, I don't support decision taken by the GJA. They must find a way to allow the students who made late payments to participate in the examination. I'm a student and I have knowledge of how the students are finding it difficult to raise school fees. This one says, I'm against the early battle for who to succeed President Akufo-Addo. If we don't contain it, the focus we need for Akufo-Addo's second term, everything will fail us as MPP people. Now, there are other text messages here. Let me read them. This one says, Kenneth Furiata's vetting today is a waste of time. I think the person sent the message to the other line. This one is from Eben in Kwabenya. The senior Judas in NDC is out. One more to follow. Victory is assured come 2024. This one says, I'm tired of this corruption issue, so I don't even want to talk about it because it's a shame.
Certainly. 20
billion in 3 years, yet we are struggling to raise 20 billion to govern our country. This one says, is for Bosheba. Because of the President Akufo-Addo of his good policies, the NDC is going to be in opposition forever. This one says, such an incompetent government. Now you blame all of the incompetence on COVID. What is the trillions and quadrillions of dollars and cedis you went for in the name of COVID-19? Where is our money? The corrupt media is deliberately mute on this thievery, but we, the majority of Ghanaians, will speak. You can steal all the votes and all our money, but you can't steal our brains. Mustafa from Lower Manyakrobo, instead of the teacher unions pressing on the lack of textbooks to teach for the past 2 years, they are rather pressing someone's dreadlocks for admission. What a toothless unions presiding over our education system. Mustafa sent this from Lower Manya. Good morning, my able host. Ghana is heading towards a ditch in the hands of the MPP. We need to scale up or scale down salaries of leaders and heads of institutions to make corrupt moves unattractive. Trust me, certain people need to be executed, including, and he mentioned some key institutions. I won't read it, I don't want trouble, Because some people went to say, some people said something related, and they went to jail. I can't use those threats against key institutional heads. When the MPP likes it or not, we are bringing John Mahama back because he has a track record, built Terminal 3, Nanado's son is working there, Mahama established creative art, Nanado's daughter is working there, Mahama created jobs and not collapsing jobs. Sharaf Mahama is currently at home. What job do you have? What job have you created for Sharaf? Nanado. NAPCO, unsustainable. Mahama built 7 hospitals and it goes on and on. So obviously this is somebody who may be an NDC foot soldier or who may love the former president John Dramani Mahama. There's no doubt that he has a track record. But I'm in the studio with Timothy. He's the former MP for Bilsa North. Timothy, I want us to move away to another topic. There is a conversation about Parliament, and that conversation is about the finance minister designate. He's appearing today. Yeah. The vetting will start at 10. It will be broadcast live here on TV, XYZ, and Wazo TV. One of the people who sent the text messages said they don't anticipate anything different because everything shows that, look, at the end of the day, the House as a whole will pass him. So it's just cosmetics. We'll just listen and hear responses.
Yeah, my comment is this. You know, he was first billed to be vetted, I think, February 17th. It never came on because of his ill health. Then it was scheduled, I think, around March, early parts of March, I think 4th or so. It was also postponed. We hope that he's returned in good health. We also hope that as he has been away for over a month, he has reflected over a lot of the challenges that he had when he was a minister with the opposition. When the opposition used to advise him and he never paid any heed to it, we are expecting that he would have reflected and come up with a lot of answers. In fact, some people even thought that his sickness was just a cover-up so that he would stay away and he would be able to reflect over his stewardship and come out much more prepared to face the committee. You know, I think that members of the committee, especially the NDC side, would have also taken his long absence to do a lot of digging into not just his background, but his businesses, including the data bank, as financial advisors to most of the Eurobonds that we took. You know, we took about 13 billion Eurobond, which is sovereign. It is Eurobond to them, it is sovereign bond to us. You understand? That's a colossal amount. I believe that our people should be able to go into the details to know how much financial advising fees they paid to data bank and so on, to see whether there's a conflict of interest. So now bring these issues to a closure.
So the closure is we want to hear the response.
We want to hear, no, I'm coming. Then also you remember the issue of the frontier healthcare services at the Kotuka International. All of them dodged the answers and said that Ken Oforiatta is quote-unquote responsible and he should answer it. I remember the woman, what is her name, the Kwabinya MP, Ajwa Safu, saying that the issue of the procurement, they should ask, he clearly stated it in unambiguous terms that we should ask Ken Oforiatta. And I hope Ken Oforiatta has got the answers. We are not going to see a situation where the operations of frontier healthcare service, how much it cost, whether it went to parliamentary scrutiny or approval as required by international law, and even about our Ghanaian law, that any foreign entity that wants to do business must pass through parliament, or the procedure.
What do you expect to be the posture or the posturing at the appointments committee? Because I've read some information around that upon his arrival as from the US, they said the doctors have advised him that he should be low in terms of the work schedule. He should go on a low so that he can gradually recover. So there's somebody who is supposed to be recovering. And so the assumption is that it's not too fit. So he's going to appear before the appointments committee, and there's a likelihood that, oh, the man is not sick and he has to be pampered so that he can recover fast. And that is likely to affect how long he may sit and how MPs may handle that issue. Do you anticipate that this is likely to come up, and how should it be handled?
I am anticipating something that Ken generally has a calm demeanor when you look at him, and he's going to exhibit much more calmer demeanor before the committee, notwithstanding the medical doctor's advice. But is it not mind-boggling or wondering why he will still put his health on the line in favor of taking public function, taking a public job? In fact, in Ken's absence,
he's not under ICU.
No, you know, health is not about
you'll be under
ICU when your case is beyond just ordinary sitting up and so on. The president must have his trust in him, but it goes beyond trust. And I don't think Ken is the finest of all the MPP gurus. They've told us that they have the men, they have the economy. You know, when you remember when Baumia was sounding lyrical about the fact that what an economic team. We have Dr. Antonia Sakoto, we have Ken Oforiatta, you saw that he was virtually singing and telling us that the economic management team was solid. What it meant was that any other fellow on that team was capable of handling the economy in the absence of
Professor Jambafo.
Professor Jambafo, who and who. He was sounding lyrical and singing, telling the world how competent they are and that they have the men. So in the absence of Ken Oforiatta, there should be another competent fellow who will take over and so on and so forth. I expect them to have done a better digging of Ken Oforiatta, bring all the critical questions, no matter his disposition, no matter his health issues, because he knows he's not healthy enough, but he's come to take up an appointment which was going to exert pressure on him and so forth. And I know that there's going to be an issue of the MPP trying to put spokes. Because look, most of these tax exemptions I told you this morning about, you know, it must come from the Ministry of Finance and then to Parliament. They must be able to ask him questions like, between 2017 and 2019, 5.2 billion cedis worth of tax exemption was given out. They should be able to peruse to know what it is. They should be able to peruse to know why Pullman Hotels was given $24 million.
Why are they asking now? Because the issue came before Parliament. There was a debate. The majority had their way.
I was just coming to the issue.
We've gone past that.
No,
so for the average, I've heard people say that, look, no matter how much critical the questions might be, because we have witnessed instances where ministers of state who were nominees then appeared, were not convincing in their responses, were evasive, and there were outstanding issues that were not addressed and have been passed. The school of thought by one group of people was that these issues are pending, and so they can still be approved and they can address them. So
you are right.
You can raise all the critical issues, but if Parliament or those in charge do not ensure that certain actions, Parliament serves a notice to potential nominees that these things will not be tolerated, and therefore it will serve as a deterrent. Yes, we will raise all the noise. They will come through, be passed, come back, and we'll return to square one.
But it is important we raise the noise and raise the issue for the world to know who they are, for the world to know who the nominees are. It is important to raise them for the Ghanaian electorate who went to, on the scorching sun, voted us or voted the MPP for a better governance, and they are giving them bad governance. It is for us to peruse and open them up for the world to judge. And again, you can also say
that those who must be playing the gatekeeping role, those who must be speaking to the issue, if they also go to sleep, then at the end of the day, all of us must blame ourselves.
Yes, but you can also say that if that is the case and we know that they were proven, then they shouldn't be vetting.
And that was what I'm driving at.
They shouldn't be vetting, but the vetting is still necessary because it is to hold people responsible, whether they vote them at the end of the day or not. It's a government. In fact, look, a good president and a good government can even drop a nominee without necessarily be cause to Parliament. You can drop it because of your performance there. Now, are we together here?
We are together here.
Even the president can drop you because of your performance at that place. Not necessarily Parliament should drop you.
Do you think the president should drop Ken Ofori-Atta?
If the president wanted to drop him, he would have dropped him long time.
You have not answered the question.
No, I'm coming there.
So
if the president wanted to drop, so what I'm saying is that, do I think the president should drop him or not to drop him? The president will not drop Ken Ofori-Atta, but me, I will not say the president should drop him or not.
So you have not answered that question.
No, I've answered your question because the president knows what is in Ken.
An excuse.
Yes, because I have to find the excuse, because what does my yes or no got to do with his approval or otherwise? Here is someone who was supposed to have been, met Parliament and vetted long ago. He said he was sick and went out, and the president left the position vacant for now, and he has come back. What is in Ken Ofori-Atta, or what is the umbilical cord between he and Ofori-Atta that the president cannot break it and put in another competent?
Let's spend the last
so the question
5 minutes.
The question of whether he should drop him or not does not lie with me. It lies with the president, because the president finds him.
Okay, so we have about 3 minutes to stop. Because you're a former MP who was on the ticket of the NDC, let me put your party on the spot with regards to what is happening. I think we know that Atubiga has been suspended. We know Aloti Jacobs has been sacked. Yesterday, I monitored a conversation involving the General Secretary of the party, who said the disciplinary committee is also looking at Koku Anidoho. Is the party not considering the fact that smoking out some of these giants who they used to be giants in the party, now suspended? It is rather going to open a Pandora's box.
You see, let me tell you, every institution has its rules and regulations, and we are all privy to them. We know them, and you know in your heart that when you go against them, actions will be taken against you. And you see, when you are in an institution, then you begin to you are happy with the runnings. There are some secrets that you have, they stay with you till you die with them. You don't expose them to the public. You don't come out. Look, today I was hearing that Aloti Jacobs said that the NDC is like the devil's den. To be in the NDC is like the den of the devil. My brother, whatever that has aggrieved you, whatever that has made you, you don't today come out to condemn the party in that uncertain terms. You are alone. Are you telling me that you didn't benefit from the party? Look, as we talked to you this morning, 8 people were killed in these elections who are NDC foot soldiers. Foot soldiers have suffered in this party. They've gotten nothing from the beginning since we formed the party up to today. Some people join along the line and they've amassed wealth. Yet our foot soldiers continue to be loyal to our party. You amassed where you benefited from it, and at the same time you turn around to castigate the party. You want the party to carry you along. What example are we telling our foot soldiers who have been working so hard?
So the school of thought is that the party is intolerant. The party doesn't want
what is intolerance? What is intolerance? The man himself
to target people.
The man himself said that he was not reversed, and that he has joined the campaign to campaign for Akufo-Addo and then what is the name? Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. His Excellency the President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud.
Are you referring to Aloti Jacobs?
Aloti Jacobs. What is intolerance about this? They've openly. Do you know what the party has done to some of us and we have been quiet? You know it. Do you know how many people this party has stepped on their toes? They will continue to. If you're in an institution and then you disagree with them, you don't go outside. You stay in the institution and fight the wrong. Who should be fighting the wrong and paving the way for you to be enjoying? You should be part of the solution of the issue. I was with Aloti Jacobs 2 days ago on one of your sister stations on a radio station. He narrated his story, and I told him in his face that I expected him to have stayed in the party to fight and not to come out of the party and denigrate the party. For which discipline must guide us and what
I wish I had time to drill this further or drill it further, because I need to also reflect what your opponents are thinking, because you are alone in the studio. Unfortunately, our time is up. Timothy.
Atabwade.
Awontirum
yes,
is the former MP for Bolsa North.
Yes.
This morning we focused on corruption, and then we wrapped up with Ken Ofori-Atta's vetting, conjecturing what was likely or what is likely to happen. TV Xyz will bring you the live telecast as soon as proceedings start. Nana Abena Sewa, on her behalf, my behalf, the production team, Abuaje especially, and Linda, to Gideon and all the team members, I want to say thank you for supporting us. Bye-bye for now.